Well, mommy said, if you can't say anything good about someone, then rather not say anything at all. Hey, welcome to another live conversation with myself, Tony Jalen, and the wonderful, the incomparable, the legendary Danielle Jalen.
Mm.
Hello, Danielle.
Good afternoon, Tony.
Good afternoon. Hey, in today's discussion, we're going to be talking about the power of edification, how to build others up, and also some perspective on criticizing people publicly. We've all been, I think, on both sides of the coin where someone's built us up, and then we've also been the other side where we may have been torn down, sometimes unintentionally, publicly. And no, this is a topic that when I look at a lot of the good leaders out there, um, they do a really good job of edification. Now, some of you guys who are joining us live via either Facebook or YouTube or Twitter, you might be wondering, like, what is edification? Well, it's defined as to build up, establish, or strengthen a person, institution to uplift. And great leaders, great partners are always known to always find ways to build up others. And we look at our English word edify, it comes from the same root word as edifice. An edifice is a building. An edifice has been built up, and I might be pronouncing that wrong, but that's okay. You guys get the point. When you edify a person, you build them up. So that's what it is. And I think you're either, when you look at people, I mean, this is just an example. Oh, let's have this discussion here, Danielle. Uh, let's think about two different scenarios when you ask someone what they know or think about a third person you want to meet. So, first scenario, A, okay? They roll their eyes before speaking of the person. How does that affect your anticipation of meeting this person?
I immediately will probably be like, I maybe want to cancel this meeting. I don't think that I want to meet them anymore.
Mhm.
If somebody is giving that nonverbal response to
Mhm.
me, even without having said a word about the person, that tells me that they're somehow not a good person.
And that's unfortunate because we haven't even got a chance to meet them yet.
Yep.
And it might be they may be telling you that based on their experience. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had situations where people have done that exact thing, and maybe I've even done that. Not maybe, I know I've done that.
Mm.
I've got more conscious of that over the years, but um, where they'll say, "Oh, so and so, they're an absolute jerk and they're an a-hole or whatnot," and then I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I've never had that experience with them. Um, well, we'll go on the other side of that coin. You hear a positive, strong, and objective comment of the third party you're about to meet, and even if it outlines a perceived weakness within the good, don't you feel a completely like different anticipation of meeting that person?
Yeah, it makes you excited to like want to meet them, see what makes them so great. Like, who is this person that I'm going to be meeting? It maybe builds the anticipation, like of you're almost going into the presence of royalty or something. Like you got to be on your best behavior, like make your best impression when you meet them, and it changes the whole atmosphere of your energy going into it.
Well, I mean, this has been around for ages, hasn't it? Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you gotta see so and so in concert. They are amazing in concert. And of course, you get this built up anticipation. I can't wait to meet them live, you know, or that movie or that restaurant. So this is something that's been around for ages, and literally, especially as a rare leader, I believe it's something that the really good leaders are really good at, you know. Um, and I believe it's like a fundamental leadership skill in growing your subordinates in workplace or coworkers. But why is this powerful yet simple opportunity missed a lot, do you think?
I don't think that maybe people are even actually aware that it's something that even exists. Like I think that we just go so much about our lives, like we don't even think about, like making sure that we're speaking in a positive and uplifting way, encouraging way of other people. I think we get so caught up and it's easy to get spiraled into the negative of one situation and then make it that whole person. Um, and I think that it's important to realize that in order for us to be encouragers as rare leaders, to build the best teams that we have, that it's important to give life into what we want to grow. And
Mhm.
so I think it's very important to remember, like, if you're struggling in an area, like, or you see somebody struggling in an area, speak into them to help them grow, because that maybe they just need that little word of encouragement to help them get through whatever's going on to get to that next step.
Yeah, that reminds me of a story, because I coach sports. It was just maybe a handful of years ago. And if anyone who's ever coached a sport, you know the story I'm about to share, you can relate to it. You have that one player you're thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to be a handful. And that might be the same thing when it comes to employees, right? And I had this one, we'll call him Sammy for conversation's sake here. And he literally, I thought he had this like chip on his shoulder. Like I would say hi to him when he comes to practice, and he just wouldn't really like connect with me. And I'm like, man, I'm like, all right, well, this guy is also polarizing. Like he has a positive and a negative energy that he can bring people in. So I made it one of my missions to speak into, hey, you know what? You're gonna be he's a leader, and the things I did to do that. Well, where it really came to light was towards the end of the volleyball season. And there was a player who wasn't really athletically gifted at all. And he was simply there just to do something. He enjoyed being around a team. And in volleyball, there's a thing called serving, and so your job is to hit the ball over the net. Well, the likelihood for him to be successful in this was very, very, very slim. I'd say maybe a 2% shot. I remember it was the last game of the season, and before we started the game, we'll call Sammy, and the other player said, "Hey, can Johnny serve?" And of course, I'm put on the spot in front of the players. This is my reasoning here. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, absolutely." Well, thinking in my mind that the opportunity is not going to come that he's going to have to serve. I was wrong. And of course, the time which his number was called was when the score was 12-14, and we needed 3 points to get to 15 to win. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, it's time for Johnny to serve. I'm subbing in my next person. Like, I like to win. It is what it is. And this is where I was taught a very valuable lesson, because Sammy turned around and says, Coach, you said that Johnny can serve. Time out, time out. And all the other players said, yeah, Coach, you said he can serve. I'm like, and you can see Johnny at this just looking at me and all his 5 foot of glory, going, "Don't put me in, don't put me in, don't put me in." And I'm like, "You guys are right." I go, "Johnny, you're gonna serve." And they're like, "Yeah." He goes back there. Now remember, we needed 2 more points or 3 points to win. Yeah, 3 points to win. And he served, and I literally closed my eyes. And the ball hit. I peeked up. The ball hit the top of the net and rolled over, and we scored a point. The team went wild. Now, at the end of that game, Johnny came up to me and gave me a big hug, thanking me to give him the opportunity to serve. We didn't win that game, yet I believe we won a whole bunch of players' hearts that day. And I was taught a valuable lesson from Sammy that, he saw the potential in Johnny. He edified Johnny, and his teammates then got behind him. So I think that's something for us to remember, that our words matter. and they even matter behind closed doors. And let's talk about that for a moment because we can speak to you publicly. I also believe, though, the words we speak behind closed doors to our kids, to our friends, to our partners can make a big difference too. Can you share your insights on that?
Yeah, I think you've always done a very good job with me, and you've had a very big understanding and grasped this for a long time. And I know that you've done always whatever you could, because knowing that words matter, and even if they're not said in front of the person, what you say to other people about people matters. And you've always done a really good job of protecting my mind, because it's easy to say one thing and it may be one situation, but all of a sudden in my mind, the seed is planted that this is a bad person or whatever it is, based on one situation that may have come up and had nothing to do with the rest of this person's life. Like, it's one situation, but I would always have that seed planted and would make me carry a different energy towards that person when they were around. So you've always done a very good job of knowing that and understanding that, and not speaking negatively to me about other people. And I think that we try to do that within our family. I know that kids can start picking and talking about different people, and whether they realize it or not, the next time that person's around, the energy is different, because there's always that you see them then and it's like, well, that's not who they are. But then it's almost like a guilty feeling that you would have even been talking negatively or badly about somebody behind their back. And so then you start to either overcompensate with how nice you are, or you shy away from the relationship because you feel bad that you had that thought about them or whatever it is. And so I think it's always important. And I think it's important as parents, when you're speaking to your children about the other parent, that you're continually like edifying and talking about the great things that they're doing. Not like, oh, Tony's always busy, he's always late at work, like, because that feeds bad energy into the relationship between you and your son. Then, like, it's not, if I'm talking about, oh my gosh, dad's changing lives, like he's really helping this person, it makes a difference. Because we had the situation when Ezekiel was in daycare, like, what's your dad do? Oh, he helps people's make people's dreams come true. Because when you were out later doing things, I wasn't complaining that you were out doing it. I was explaining, like, you're helping people get the goals and dreams that they want. And that changed you were a hero in his eyes. And that's how it should be with your kids. And I think when they see how you're treating one another and how you're speaking to one another, and even if you think that they're not looking or listening, they're listening and they're looking. Like, it's very important to be aware of that, and to not be negative about the words that we're speaking. Like, I know it's not always easy to be like in the heat of the moment and be like, oh my gosh, like whatever, but like really to be as conscious of it as you can be, because it does matter. Like, it how you are treating people will show them how they should be treating people.
Yeah, and you to your point of how you treat people, you're setting an example of how to treat other people as well, especially when they're not around. You know, um, I mean that can make a huge difference in terms of that relationship. I hear sometimes where people say, "Well, my kids aren't appreciative." Oh, they're not appreciative of all they got. Well, the question is, are you showing that appreciation for your partner? And speaking, oh man, like, they're really working hard on things. Even though these things may be going on, they're working hard at these situations for us for that reason, you know. This applies to your work life too, you know. And I sometimes say, don't do it for the applause, do it for the cause. And instead of waiting for applause for yourself, why not edify an example of someone who in your organization, family members, um, for what they did. And, so that way, how do I say this? When you talk well about people when they're not around, you help them improve their relationships with others. I can tell you, I mean, I've gotten caught up in those traps where the employees or whatnot are talking about a manager, and it just becomes this little, complaining session. And to your point, when I then got around that manager, I was feeling guilty because here I was a days earlier in this little group talking negative, and now I'm standing next to him. Like, I'm sure they're watching, and they know that I was griping too. So our words do matter, and especially in a world where it's easy to, with social media, to go ahead and tear people down. All right. Um, sometimes people go, "Well, I talked to my friends about this situation, um, and they agree with me. Like you know, I, I can't make things better." Well, the question is, what did you say? Tell me what you said. Of course, they're gonna buy into what you said because they're your friends. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I know one of the things that we talked about too is like, as you're referencing to your coworkers and what you're saying to somebody that may be in your management position or the owner position or whatever it is, and this guy's a jerk, he's whatever, he doesn't care about what we're doing. And I think that if you have a problem with them, that you take it to them. You don't take it to the other people, because the other people aren't seeing or aren't in the position that you're in, that you're complaining about. And it's not their position to fix, it's your position to fix with who you have the problem with. And so that, to your point, like where you're talking like you're in that group and they're like watching you now, well, you just said all this stuff about him, and they're always going to constantly be thinking like, well, now he's sucking up,
hmm
look at
That's how
him
you
over
get this.
there.
That's how you get the suck up thing, I think.
Yeah. And if you're not saying anything bad, you're still a part of the group, and so you still have like what you're associated with, like you're with that group. Even if you didn't say anything, you didn't stop what was being said either. So I think that's important to remember when you're in those situations, like how are you speaking, and if people are speaking negatively, what are you doing to stop it? Because it's easy to get caught in the spiral of it and getting brought down. So I think um it's important just to have that one-on-one conversation with that person. And I think that goes for as a husband and wife too. Like it's not a position to be out at dinner, and even if you're joking and laughing, oh, Tony didn't take out the garbage, haha, what a jerk. Like I asked him 10 times in front of all these people. Now all of a sudden I took all credibility and respect away from you as a husband and as a man, and what our relationship looks like. If I have a problem with you, even though I'm laughing about it, it's not the place to address those problems in front of other people. That it's a one-on-one with you and I, because then now all of a sudden this lady is going to start complaining about the things her husband hasn't done, and you fall into this trap. And then it's like, well, nobody wants to be around, like the husbands don't want to be around, like all of a sudden you're straining relationships of you don't want to be around that. Like now this guy doesn't respect me and thinks I'm a piece of shit because I forgot to take the garbage out one day. And not that you forget to take the garbage out, but I'm just using it as an example of like what it looks like. If you have a problem or you have something that you want to discuss, like it's not the place when you're in front of other people to have that conversation. Like take it behind closed doors and have that conversation. My problem with you isn't their problem with you.
And that goes back to, I think, not only to the criticizing people publicly in front of other people or quote unquote demeaning them, it's also, there's those situations where people are wrong. And I've been in situations where I know the other person was wrong. I had no doubt about it. And I just piped up and said, well, no, that's wrong. And I sometimes realize, like, ask, like, did it really matter that they were wrong? Like, and in the end of the day, is it really going to matter? Could I have waited later and said, you know what? I haven't thought of, like, how did you come up with that answer? Because it happens, and we don't intentionally try to do those things to correct people constantly in front of people. But when we do, you're actually taking away their credibility as well. Because then what's going to happen?
They're not going to believe anything else that you're saying.
Yeah. So it's mindful that we're like not only talking well about people behind closed doors, and like Mama said, like if you don't have nothing to say about someone, don't say nothing at all. And I know that's sometimes easier said than done, but it's an important thing in terms of, like we're in the month of relationships. This is the relationship month, right? To build stronger relationships. And when you look at what we talk about, connect, collaborate, and contribute as real leaders, connection is about this as well. And for those guys who are watching live, feel free to put anything in the comments that's rang true to you in this conversation today as well. So, okay, we talked about what it is. We talked about why it is and what's the cost of not doing it properly. What are some things a person can do? I mean, we talked a few things about it, to truly edify someone.
Well, I think that, the more that you can encourage and speak the appreciation of what somebody did, like specifically what they've done, but not just saying it to them, but like when you are in a group, like, maybe you're out to dinner with different people, like, hey, Tony just hit number one DM in da 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 in his in the region and surpassed his goal by 180%, like for the team, like that's an amazing job. Like he just hit green diamond. Like by doing that stuff, it creates excitement. It creates like that. It makes you feel good because like, oh, Danielle paid attention and listened to what I was telling her about,
Hmm.
that I did. But like sharing like the success, and then they can and speak to like, hey, what are the things that you did to be able to do that, and you're able to share more, just in ways that not like to bring energy and to bring, I don't know, light to the environment versus complaining about the stupid stuff that's on the news all the time. Like there are good things that happen. Share them about other people.
Yeah. And when the social media thing is a good thing, and just like telling your kids about it, like it's different when you yourself are quote unquote sharing your wins. But yet, when someone else shares your wins for you, it changes the whole ball game. Those are called raving fans, by the way. It's no different than that rock star concert has all their fans saying, "Oh my gosh, so and so just made this song and made such a difference for me." I mean, those things are important to do. Yet, in order to connect, we got to be intentional with it. And I would encourage you to, if you have a partner, if you have coworkers or whatnot, do an inventory and ask yourself, when did I build them up, privately and publicly? Because sometimes people don't know how amazing someone is. They're the best kept secret. Yet it's good to go out and share other, be lavish in your praise. And then if you're going to criticize behind closed doors and have one-on-one conversation with people. As we finish up here, I think you can either be known as one of two people, either the uplifter. That's a good person. Man, that's, if you want someone to like you, lift them up. We saw that just recently when Eminem met Al Michaels at the Super Bowl, right? And like Eminem is this worldwide icon for music, and then you have Al Michaels, the Super Bowl announcer, and like Eminem's like, man, he goes, "You're a legend, man." I mean, he's just going up at Al Michaels. You could tell, even though he's been around for years, more years than I've been alive, how good he felt by Eminem edifying him. People are walking by. Hey, do you guys know this is Al Michaels right here? Like, You would think Al Michaels doesn't need that, right? Because he's made such an impact on the world of professional sports. But even Al Michaels welcomes edification. So you can be known as the uplifter or the downer. I think that's a choice. Personally, professionally, or in your community. It doesn't take much effort to go ahead and encourage someone. So final thoughts, Danielle, as we wind up here.
Just be mindful of your words. And if you're feeling like you don't aren't receiving the edification that you feel you deserve, like take a look in the mirror. Like maybe you need to start giving it. And I think giving it is more important than receiving it. And it just makes you feel better. And I think that, if you're feeling like you're constantly being complained about or different things coming up, like take a look in the mirror because it's most likely a reflection of what you're giving off. And
Yeah,
so if you start to hear the energy being brought to you and like receive it and give it away. You don't need to keep it. You can give it away.
yeah. There's abundance of that we can give away, right? And if you give, you'll receive. And to your point, a lot of times our view of the outside world is a reflection of our view of our internal world. So, folks, please make sure to join us again. We're here every Tuesday, 12:01 p.m. Last week got a little slight technical glitch, but that's okay. We still got it out there. And if you felt value in this, share this talk with other people. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. Just look at Rare Leaders, and if you want to invite other people to this the private Facebook group, just type in Rare Leaders in Facebook, and you can be part of the community. Until next time, I'm Tony Jalen. This is Daniil Jalen. Onward and upwards. Rise up and be a rare leader.